Greetings, today is Tuesday, August 12, 2025. This is meteorologist Ruben Garcia. In today's video, I will be talking about Tropical Storm Erin, which continues moving west-southwest during the day today. This morning, we saw that some specialized track models had a track a bit closer to the Northeast Caribbean. This caused some concern for sectors in the northern Leeward Islands and Puerto Rico, since in the 11 a.m. advisory we saw that the National Hurricane Center brought this cyclone's track quite a bit closer, passing about 250 miles northeast of Puerto Rico between Saturday and Sunday. So throughout the day we have been monitoring trends in the models. However, it seems that the trend of having a track closer to the Caribbean has ended because this afternoon's projections once again show the models with a track passing between 250 and 300 miles northeast of the Leeward Islands and Puerto Rico. If we zoom in a bit on the visible satellite animation, we can see the rotation of Tropical Storm Erin, which continues quite strong and robust. However, throughout the morning we have seen that the tropical cyclone has not managed to develop strong thunderstorms near the circulation center, which is an indication that it is still moving over ocean surface temperatures that are not very warm. However, as we have mentioned over the last few days, as it continues westward it will be moving over areas with increasingly warm temperatures, and it is expected that starting tonight it will begin generating new areas of thunderstorms near the circulation center, and therefore, begin a process of gradual strengthening as it moves through the tropical Atlantic. In fact, this afternoon, as of the time of recording this video, which is 6:30 p.m. local time in the Eastern Caribbean, we can see in the infrared satellite animation that stronger, more concentrated convection near the circulation center is beginning to develop there. Over the past hours, and as forecast, the circulation center of Tropical Storm Erin has moved westward with a southwestward component because the high pressure over the North Atlantic remains quite strong. In addition, the system has remained a weak tropical storm, which has helped it continue with that west-southwest track. However, at the moment, this should not worry us because the specialized track models since yesterday have shown this west-southwest component, which should last for at least the next 24 hours, that is, at least until tomorrow, Wednesday afternoon. Then, once it crosses 45 degrees west longitude, it will begin to take a more west-northwest turn until eventually passing at its closest point to the Northeast Caribbean. In fact, note that there continues to be good agreement among the best track models, and none of them have a track over the Northeast Caribbean, and even better, this afternoon they readjusted slightly farther north compared to the adjustments we saw overnight and this morning that brought the system closer to the Northeast Caribbean. But with the new runs and projections, we are more confident that it will maintain a distance to the northeast of the Caribbean, leaving some indirect effects, but tropical storm force and hurricane force winds should remain over the Atlantic waters. The intensity projections continue showing gradual strengthening over the next 5 to 7 days, and most project that early next week it could reach major hurricane strength. In this case, most agree that it could be a Category 3 hurricane. In fact, this matches the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center. Note that during the next 24 hours, with that west-southwest movement, residents of the Northeast Caribbean should not be alarmed if they continue seeing the circulation losing latitude, since the specialized models and the National Hurricane Center project that starting Wednesday afternoon, it will begin to turn toward the west-northwest, and by Thursday afternoon or early Friday it could strengthen into the first hurricane of the season. Eventually, the National Hurricane Center projects gradual strengthening, and when it passes at its closest point to the northeast and north of Puerto Rico, it could strengthen into a Category 3 hurricane with maximum sustained winds of 115 miles per hour. Here is the cone of uncertainty, which, although it covers some of the northern Leeward Islands, the reality is that if there are no changes in the forecast, as the days pass it is very likely that this cone will remain north of the region. And for Puerto Rico residents, unlike the 11 a.m. advisory, note that in the 5 p.m. advisory, Puerto Rico is now outside the cone of uncertainty. However, remember that some indirect effects such as rain and dangerous surf could affect the area this weekend. This consensus, in which the tropical cyclone would pass northeast of the Caribbean, is also seen in the latest projections from the global models. For example, in the most recent run of the American model, on Saturday night, the future Hurricane Erin is about 300 miles northeast of the Leeward Islands, while the European model's afternoon projection has the cyclone passing about 200 to 250 miles northeast of the Leeward Islands. In addition, the German model also shows a Category 1 hurricane passing about 250 miles northeast of the Leeward Islands on Saturday night, just like the UK model projection. Meanwhile, Google's AI model also keeps this distance at about 250 to 300 miles northeast of the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, making it quite evident that the consensus remains that it will keep a track to the northeast of the Caribbean. Of course, it is always important to monitor in case of any changes. However, residents of the Northeast Caribbean should only remain watchful, and at the moment there is no need to activate emergency protocols. Part of the confidence in this forecast also comes from the good agreement in the ensemble members of the American model. Note the west-southwest component during the next 24 hours, but eventually turning toward the west-northwest, passing far from the northeast Caribbean. In fact, note that none of the American model members have a track over the Leeward Islands. Then, in 6 to 7 days, the margin of error increases considerably because we have different solutions, from tracks passing east of Bermuda to others moving toward the north of the Bahamas. Once again, it is important for Bermuda residents to be attentive to the evolution of the future Hurricane Erin, while the ensemble members of the European model, in their great majority, also keep that track away from the northeast Caribbean, although very few have a track very close to or over the north of the Leeward Islands. It is important to mention that this represents less than 5% of the members, and the consensus is that the center will remain between 250 and 350 miles northeast of the Caribbean. In the longer term, the ensemble members of the European model also show the great uncertainty in its future track. And also very importantly, the ensemble members of the European model continue projecting that the future Hurricane Erin could encounter exceptionally favorable conditions to become a major hurricane when it passes over the southwest Atlantic. So, at least for residents of the northern Leeward Islands, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic, for now we continue monitoring its evolution. However, what is projected are some indirect effects of heavy showers affecting the region between Saturday and Sunday, and also strong surf affecting the north coast of Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, and the northern Leeward Islands between Saturday and Monday, with waves that could reach up to 10 feet near the coast. Therefore, swimmers should avoid beaches in this area over the weekend, and small craft operators should exercise great caution at sea. Before I go, I wanted to tell you that today the NOAA Climate Prediction Center updated its outlook, and as we had anticipated, for the period from August 20th to 26, it continues to project that several tropical waves could have potential for cyclonic development from Africa to the Caribbean. The Climate Prediction Center projects there is a 20 to 40% chance of other cyclones developing from several tropical waves that will come off Africa in the coming days. So here at Hurricane Info, I will continue to closely monitor Tropical Storm Erin and any tropical wave that comes off Africa. And before I go, I want to ask you to give this video a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you get notifications when I record new videos. So, if there are no significant changes tonight or early Wednesday morning, the next video will be recorded tomorrow, Wednesday, early in the afternoon. With that, I say goodbye. I hope you all have an excellent night. See you later.